Thanks to an amazing comment from a fantastic and loyal subscriber of the podcast. I want to get you involved in this prediction element of the podcast. I'm pretty much doing it every week right now, so I thought it makes sense to get you, the people, involved. So what I'd like from you is to send in your clips of you predicting any one of next week's League One fixtures, and you have a chance to be featuring in the podcast. I want to be going against some of the subscribers and the viewers of my podcast, so all you need to do is predict either one or maybe even all of the fixtures from next week. The fixtures will be on the screen right now. And I want you to send your clips and your videos of you predicting those games to either one of these three different social medias. We've got email, we've got Twitter, and we've got Instagram. I can reply to either one of these three. I personally would say that Instagram would be slightly easier. I can just open your message on there after you DM it to me, and you can be featuring in the podcast. So yeah, you can send in one of the games, you can send in all of the games. I guess the more you do, the more games, the better chance you do in featuring in the podcast. But I'll try and get as many people in as we possibly can. At the start of next week, so match week 13, so actually 2 weeks away, we can go against and we can see who has won. Have I beaten you or have you beaten me? At the end, let's say whoever features the most may get a cheeky little prize at the end of it. I want to get you involved, so make sure you give your thoughts and give your predictions and send it to either one of these three social media pages. Anyway, get along with the show. Enjoy. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Unfan Podcast and welcome to my Match Week 11 predictions in League One. Some really interesting and fascinating games of football coming up this weekend. We had some really exciting games yesterday being Tuesday and last weekend on Saturday as well. Some really interesting results, some surprising results as well, and some teams already continuing to blow us away and surprises as well. We had some surprises, shocks, we've had all of it so far, really proving to be an unpredictable league as we only head into Match Week 11. Of course, you can get involved from next week. I would have spoken about this more at the start of the episode, but you can get involved in this sort of segment and this sort of series on the podcast. Of course, I'll be going against the subscribers and the viewers of my podcast starting from next week. Remember, you can get involved in that, so I cannot wait to go against you and make it a really interactive part of this channel. But this week as well, this has been recorded on Wednesday, hopefully going out on Thursday. So there's still time until Saturday to give your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to hear from you. I make sure that I reply to every single comment. Every comment that you put in that comment section, I will be replying. Your team in League One will be playing. All 24 teams are going head-to-head in 12 fixtures, a full schedule of Sky Bet League One football. So there's no excuses. Please make sure you give your thoughts as well. I want to hear from you. I love the interaction on the podcast. Also, making sure you leave a like as well. Subscribing. You can hit that notification bell as well. There's not many subscriptions that are free in this world, but YouTube is one of those. So you can hit that subscribe button for free. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers. So if you can be part of that, that would really be much appreciated. I would absolutely love it if you could be part of this journey. We're really enjoying what is being a really exciting podcast football journey, and by you getting involved, that'd be much appreciated. Anyway, let's get straight into it, starting off with Accrington Stanley against Ipswich Town. I am slowly sort of seeing these teams live, actually, as an Oxford United fan. I saw Accrington yesterday. They didn't look great against Oxford. They lost 5-1. They were beaten 5-1. So not a night to remember from an Accrington Stanley point of view. For Ipswich as well, they're sort of having the opposite effect that Accrington. They started their season really badly and now looking pretty decent. For Accrington, they started the season very well, picking up 4 wins, and they've only won one game in the last 5. So they currently sat in 12th. I know league form and a position in league table this early in the season, even after 10 games, is really quite misleading and can be quite misleading. But Ipswich are sort of slowly getting into the rhythm of things, which is really important because I think we mentioned that Ipswich brought a lot of players in the summer. They had a real rebuild, a real change and a real shift in the way they were doing things at that football club. It was going to take a bit of a transition period, and we are seeing that. Against Accrington, though, this weekend, I think they will win the game. It's going to be difficult. Accrington are going to want to respond. They're going to want to respond to a very poor performance yesterday. For that reason, I think they will really put up a fight. There's no doubt about that. But I think Ipswich will edge the game. I think they will edge it slightly. And I'm going to go with 2-1. I think Ipswich are going to be up for it. They want to find some momentum. They want to continue with that momentum because the momentum in League One is very important. It's important in every league, but especially in a very competitive division like League One. As close as it is as well, a few games, and a few wins on the trot, you're going to be really climbing up that table really quickly. So I think Ipswich are going to win the game, and I'm going to go with 2-1 there. But not an easy game for Ipswich. But yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1. AFC Wimbledon against Burton Albion then, a really, really interesting game. Of course, Burton actually won last night. AFC Wimbledon are currently sat in 14th. They actually have lost 3 games in a row. So since they beat Oxford United 3-1, they haven't looked great at all. They've lost 3 games on the trot. And this is going to be quite an interesting one, really, because like I said, Burton had a fantastic start to the season, and then recently, other than on Tuesday, haven't looked that great. They have actually only won 1 game in their last 5. The exact same, of course, as Accrington Stanley, but the opposite way round. So it's going to be really, really interesting, this one. And again, we know Burton have got some really, really good players. They've got a good manager that have done well this season, have proven to do well this season. And the AFC Wimbledon as well. Again, they've got some really, really good players, and they play a very, very good system. They're very, very good at set pieces, very, very dominant in the air, very, very physical side. So that's going to be really, really interesting. I want to go with a draw in this game. I'm going to go with 1-1. Initially, I was going to say that AFC Wimbledon could win it with that sort of home advantage, but Burton won last night. They're going to have a bit of confidence, have a bit of momentum. They're going to try and find that momentum. I'm going to go with a draw in this game, 1-1. A very, very tight, close game of football. Bolton Wanderers then against Shrewsbury Town, another very, very fascinating game. But I think with this one, Bolton Wanderers will probably be expecting to win it. I think probably will win the game. Of course, they won last night. They did actually lose 2 games prior to that victory on Tuesday. But ultimately, after these 10 games, we've seen a really, really good Bolton side, a team that, of course, were promoted last season. But after sort of clearing things up slowly off the pitch and started seeing a real development on it, we are seeing a much better Bolton side, and currently sat in 7th place. That's really, really exciting from that perspective. When we look at the likes of Shrewsbury, you have to go a little bit further down, who, of course, are in the relegation zone. They're currently sat in 21st. They've lost 6 games this season. They are going to be really up against it against Bolton, let's be honest. They're going to be really, really up against it. I think Bolton will win the game. I think that's probably what a lot of people predict. I think that's probably what will happen. Maybe Shrewsbury might shock us and shock League One, but I think it's going to be quite a comfortable win. I'm going to go with 3-1 in this game. Bolton have conceded a few goals this season. They've actually conceded 14 goals, which is the most, actually, in the top half of the league, other than Accrington Stanley, who have conceded 19, but they're currently sat in 12. They're just on that threshold. Other than Accrington, they have actually conceded the most in that top half of League One. So yeah, I think they will concede, but they've got some really good attacking power. They scored 18 goals this season, so I think they're going to win the game 3-1. Crewe Alexandra then against Cambridge United. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Of course, the Crewe drew last night, but are in the relegation zone, whereas Cambridge did actually lose last night. They lost, and they're currently sat in 15th, but they've actually only played 9 games. Again, I mean, Cambridge, they've had it all, haven't they? 3 wins, 3 draws and 3 losses. They've absolutely had it all so far this season. Whereas Crewe, they are struggling a little bit. They're getting draws. They've actually drawn quite a few games this season. In fact, they've drawn 4 and actually lost 5. But it's going to be, again, a really, really quite interesting game, as much as it might not be an attractive game of football, maybe, no disrespect to both of those sides. I think it's going to be quite an edgy game, but I'm going to see a lot of goals in it. I'm going to go with 3-2 to Cambridge United. I think Cambridge, they have scored goals this season. They actually have scored 12 goals, 12 goals this season. Actually, Crewe have scored 7. So, I mean, both of those stats, I mean, together, they've actually scored 20 goals, which is actually the same as Sunderland altogether. So, they haven't scored a lot of goals this season, but they both have conceded quite a few. So I'm going to go with 3-2 to Cambridge. I think Crewe are going to find it difficult. I think Cambridge United are also going to find it difficult as well. It's going to be quite a tough game of football. But I'm going to go with 3-1 in this game. A tight game, but a very, very edgy game. But a very, very high-scoring game as well. So a lot of 3 different aspects of a football match. But I still think it's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm going to go 3-2. Doncaster Rovers then against MK Dons. MK Dons last night drew, I believe, 3-3. A very, very interesting game. They're unbeaten in their last 5, 3 of them being wins. Whereas Doncaster Rovers are currently sat in rock bottom of League One, losing 4 out of the last 5 games, and of course lost last night as well. They're really, really struggling at the moment. They're not having a good time so far this season. 6 points adrift already in the relegation zone. They're not going to be in the best place. And playing against a side that, did concede 3 goals, but did score 3 and have looked pretty decent this season in MK Dons. I think it's going to be quite a difficult test. For that reason, I think it is going to be a pretty easy win for MK Dons, a quite comfortable victory. I'm going to go with 2-1 to MK Dons at Doncaster Rovers. They need to find some form quickly. This could be an opportunity for Doncaster and home fans try and get these points on the board now. We have seen quite a few home wins. This sort of home advantages coming back into play with fans now back in the ground. But I still think MK Dons will have enough. Doncaster haven't looked good enough this season. MK Dons have looked pretty decent. So I'm going to go with 2-0 in this game. There, Fleetwood Town then against Charlton Athletic. Let's see what I predicted in this one then. Fleetwood are currently sat in 20th. They drew. I've actually looked quite good in the last 5 games. They haven't actually lost in their last 5 games. They currently do sit still in 20th, but that's because I say unbeaten. They have drawn 4 of them, but that is still on technicality, still unbeaten. Whereas Charlton, they continue to really quite struggle. We didn't think this was going to be sort of a bottom end, or should I say a real bottom end of the League One clash at this point in the season. I thought after 10 games we're talking about Charlton, right at the top end of the League One table. That is how unpredictable this division has been. This one's really hard. I mean, Charlton lost again last, and sort of whichever way you look at it from a Charlton perspective, they have actually been struggling. So from their point of view, they really do need a win. They really need a win if they want to corrupt the table. I mean, the pressure on the manager is going to be very, very intense at this point, as you can imagine. So it's going to be really, really important to sort of see that sort of change, hopefully soon for Charlton fans. And in this one, I have predicted Charlton to win. I have thought, I do think that this could be the one where they could sort of change their fortunes, and we could see a shift in the way they play against the team against Fleetwood. But then Fleetwood have looked good, so you could see this being a draw, maybe even a home win. I mean, if Fleetwood beat Charlton at home from a Fleetwood, at Fleetwood, I think Charlton fans are going to be really, really knocking on the on Adkins' door, because they really need to see change sooner rather than later. But I do think something tells me that Charlton will win the game 2-1. Something tells me they just need this game so badly after this another defeat on Tuesday. This Saturday's massive for them. It's a huge chance, a huge game to just get that win and then build on it, like Ipswich have, really. I mean, Ipswich and Charlton were in similar positions, but now Ipswich are trying to get some points on the table. Charlton have got to look at themselves and go, right, we've got to go and do the same. We've got to find some momentum really, really quickly. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Ipswich in this game. Not easy whatsoever against Fleetwood, who have looked pretty decent in the last 5, but I think it's going to be 2-1. Something tells me Charlton are going to get back on track. There we go, this Saturday. Right, next then, Gillingham against Wigan. Let's see what's going to happen here. I mean, we didn't expect Wigan to lose yesterday, did we? But they did. And as for Gillingham yesterday, they actually won. So Gillingham are looking all right, to be fair, aren't they? In the last 3 games, they haven't lost a game. They've drawn 2 and obviously won yesterday. So to be honest with you, they're looking pretty decent. They are playing Wigan, though, who, although did lose yesterday, they have looked very, very good so far this season and are still currently sat in 2nd. I think, again, this is going to be a really, really difficult game, because we've seen Gillingham play quite recently. I've seen Gillingham play quite recently, and they look a very, very good unit. They don't look a great side, but defensively, they do look very, very good. They've got some good players defensively, Jack Tucker. And they've also got some really, really good players going forward as well. You look at the likes of Alex McDonald, who did very, very well. Scored a very, very good goal against Oxford. The ex-Oxford man, which is very, 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 very disappointing and frustrating. But still, there's no doubt they've got some really good players. They are a very, very good unit. But Wigan have, so far this season, looked very, very good and are in a very, very nice position in the League One table. So I think we're going to win this game. I'm going to go with 3-1. But I do say, and what I would say as well, Gillingham, they will really pose a threat. It's not going to be easy at all. It's not going to be a breeze for Wigan. And they learnt that yesterday by, losing that game. They know they're not going to walk this league. They've got a lot still to learn. So yeah, I think they will win the game 3-1, maybe 2-1. I'm going to go with locking in 3-1. It's very, very interesting game of football. It could go either way, but I think Wigan will win the game 3-1. Lincoln City then against Plymouth Argyle. What have we got to see here? Lincoln are currently sat in 17th. They lost yesterday. Their inconsistent start to the season is sort of continuing. As for Plymouth, I mean, they're looking very, very good, aren't they? They drew last night, but currently still sat in 4th after 10 games, looking very, very healthy. I mean, technically, you take away goal difference, which is a very, very important part of football. They are level and are joint 2nd, technically. But again, it's going to be a really, really interesting game. And I think, again, I say that, I think that's my number 1 most said thing in predictions videos. Interesting game, but this one really, really is going to be just that. I'm going to go with 1-1 in this one. I mean, the obvious one will probably be saying Plymouth are going to win it, and Plymouth are going to easily win the game, but it's not going to be easy, because we've seen Lincoln City this season. They have been very, very inconsistent. There's no doubt about that, but there's no doubt at all. They've got some very, very talented players with a very, very talented manager. In front of the home fans, I just think they're going to have that edge. I don't think it's going to be enough to win the game, because Plymouth have been good this season, but I think a draw is going to be sort of that sort of right and correct score. It's going to be quite a tight game, quite a close game, quite a tactical game as well, with 2 very, 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 very exciting young managers, you could say. So yeah, really, really interesting game of football, and I'm going to go with 1-1 in that one. But yeah, really, really quite fascinating game of football. That's probably the best way of describing it. Portsmouth then against Sunderland, probably the big one, probably the biggest game of this weekend of football, and for very, very good reason, because Portsmouth, again, currently sat in 13th, haven't had an outstanding start to the season, have they? And Sunderland are currently sat at the top of the League One table, looking very, very good. Running things at the top of the League One table, you could say, really. Unbeaten the last 5 games, scoring 18 goals, 11 goal difference, 22 points. Like I said, top of the table. Only played 9 games as well, so theoretically they could even go, technically 4 points clear of their win as well. So, they're in a very, very nice position. They're in a very, very nice position. There's no doubt about that. I think with Sunderland this season, there's that real click, there's that real sort of that change in way, and I'm really, really quite impressed with Sunderland. I have actually watched one of their games. I haven't seen them live, but I have had the actual, I'd say, fortune to watch one of their very, very good games this season, because they have been very, very good. And as for Portsmouth, they haven't had, like I said, an outstanding start to this league, but still, I think it's going to be quite a tight game, and I'm going to go with a high-scoring game. It's a great game of football, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game of football as well to make it even better. So I'm going to go with 2-2. I think it's going to be a draw. It's at Fratton Park, a very, very difficult place to play your football, but I'm going to go with 2-2. Sunderland are going to be on it, of course they are. They're going to want to continue their very, very good start. Portsmouth are going to want to have a really, really good game in this one, because they want to sort of really, really quickly get back on track. They've been pretty awful in the last 5 games, not won a single game, lost 3 at the last 5. It's not been good at all, but they're going to find need to try and find some momentum and find a real kickstart to this sort of season as quickly as possible. Not easy against Sunderland, of course, our league leaders. So I'm going to go 2-2. Sheffield Wednesday then against Oxford United. Going to be quite an interesting game again. There it is. It's been said for the this is the 11th game, so probably the 11th time of this episode. I don't like predicting Oxford United games. I really don't. I say it all the time. I hate predicting Oxford games of football, and especially in this one, because this one's so difficult. Away at Sheffield Wednesday, who prior to yesterday didn't look great at all. But then same with Oxford, really. Prior to yesterday, we didn't look great at all either. So to be honest with you, it's the same, really, isn't it? We've both looked, really, really good starts to the season, then an okay spell, and now we're back to being pretty good again. So we're sort of in that sort of same boat. Something tells me, my head says I think it's going to be either a draw or defeat for Oxford. My heart says that Oxford could maybe go there and get something from the game. Maybe that still be a point. I'm not entirely sure. This is my prediction. I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to win the game. I'm going to go with 2-1. There's a bit of hopeful double bluff there that maybe we can come and pull out the bag. But I am going to go 2-1. I'm always going to speak. I'm not going to be biased. I try not to be biased, whatever I do. So I am going to go with Sheffield Wednesday, winning this game 2-1. It's going to be tight. Whatever it is, it's going to be a tight game. Both sides are going to want to play football. They're both going to cause problems. They're going to want to cause problems against each other. So I am going to go with 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. It does hurt to say it, but I am going to think it's going to be a home win. Oxford, though, if we can get a point from that game, or dare I say even a win, it'd be an outstanding point, and maybe not an outstanding point, it'd be a very, very good point, outstanding victory for sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with my head, because I'm not biased. Sheffield Wednesday against Oxford United, finishing 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday, but hopefully that does not happen. Please. Anyway, moving on quickly. Wycombe Wanderers against Morecambe. Let's see what this game has got to offer them. Wycombe currently sat in 6th place, and Morecambe are currently sat in a very, very interesting place. I had to say it because I hadn't said it before this episode. 11th place. Morecambe have been a bit up and down this season, to be fair, but have generally had a pretty good start to the season when you think about it. Just been promoted into League One. A lot of people thought they'd be going straight back down. So far this season, they might still go back down, but so far this season, they're looking very, very decent. 14 points, 11th, like I said, and actually unbeaten in the last 3 games. Won yesterday as well. Drew on Saturday, and then, the week before that, they actually won as well. So they are looking pretty decent. And they're going to have a very, very difficult game against Wycombe, aren't they? Who did win on Tuesday, yesterday. So yeah, it's going to be quite a tight game, quite a tight game of football, really. But Wycombe are going to play their sort of classic style, their very, very physical style, their overall sort of aggressive way of approaching games of football. Is going to be very, very interesting. How are Morecambe going to combat that? That'll be a very, very fascinating battle, and a way of looking at it from a tactical perspective. I do think Wycombe are going to win the game. I'm going to go with 1-0, quite a tight game. Every game's going to be tight, but it really is going to be tight. I don't think I predict a team really to thump anyone this week, other than maybe Burton at Shrewsbury. I think the Bolton are going to win that game quite comfortably, but I'm going to go with 1-0 in this one. Very, very an interesting game to watch out for, really. I would watch out for that game because it's going to be one of those where it really could go either way. I mean, if Morecambe can beat Wycombe, that'd be a fantastic result for them. But at home, at Adams Park, you do maybe think that Wycombe have got that one in the bag. Anyway, they are my League One predictions. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, because I want to hear from you as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, next week we'll be doing sort of me against the subscribers and me against the viewers of the podcast as well. I cannot wait for that segment of the podcast. It'll be very, very interesting. I've been Jack. This has been the Unfan Podcast. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.